do that. Okay, so if I look at the first one, let's see what it throws out. So gaap is not new to you, right? So I'm not going to run through gaap. You've got that, ne? I just want to make sure that you know certain theory questions they've asked before. They like to ask things like who is interested in the information? Okay, so there you can see who is interested in the information. The owners, meaning the shareholders that has shares, the board of directors, financial institutions, because remember, a company has got two sources where it can go for money: issue shares and loans. When he goes for a loan, he goes in the name of a company, ne? So obviously the banks are going to be interested in the financial statements. Okay? The workers and the trade unions, if the trade unions see that this company is underpaying their workers, ne? So that's why they keep saying, oh my goodness, this company has made billions of profit, but they only gave a 2% raise. So then the trade unions are going to start querying that. Obviously, Sash, new people who want to invest, creditors. Why creditors? Because they're going to see, is it safe to sell to these guys on credit? Are they going to pay me? You see. Okay. We did the roles of directors and shareholders. Please go read through this again. Okay. Now, you don't need to know these things. I have never seen them know it. I'm just giving it, ask it. I'm just giving it to you that you can read through it. Don't go sit and study this. Okay. You get your different boards. Okay. It's important that a company sets its books. How? Timely, understandable, fair, reliable, comparable. That's why we do IFRS. Verifiable. That's why we have documents. And relevant. So he's not going to have T accounts for everything he buys stationery. One for rulers, one for... He's going to have one for stationery. Okay. Then they talk about all the ratios that we're going to do. And then they talk about your gaap. Now remember, materiality, is it important? Historic, land and buildings. Business entity, private, company separate. Can you see that example we did of the guy paying for his family to go on a holiday? You can also mention here the entity principle. Matching and accrual. Accrual isn't that it's cruel, it just means it's adding. So accrual means that it's basically all your adjustments. So I add accrued, I subtract future. Accrued. It means that we follow the principle that we show the expense for the whole year, even if we didn't pay it. So we always show what is applicable for this current financial year. Matching means for this financial year, I show the income and the expense it incurred. That's why we say sales less cost of sales. Ne? Because sales is the income through selling this stuff. Cost of sales was the cost that I put in to have something to sell. But I show the same times sale and cost of sales. Okay? Same thing goes with if I deliver goods, ne? And I have a fee income. I will show with expenses carriage on sales because I'm paying for fuel and the driver. So it's the expense that helps me get the income. Going concern is a difficult one for me, but it's about the fact that we see that the company is going to continue in future, but they always bring in that trading stock one that we show the value of the trading stock, even though we know in future that value might drop. So remember, with historic cost, we show land and buildings at the cost price, even though the price is going to increase. But with trading stock, I show the current cost price, even though I know that in future it might be worth less, because it's not in season, for instance. So I buy scarves in the winter. The price, the value of scarves, if it goes out of fashion, might drop. Even though the business continue, I still got the stock, so I show it at that. That's how I have to. I'm on camera now, so the whole world now knows that this one is for me very difficult. So what I do is I do all the other ones, and what's left I put consistency. And if it says something like future, okay, because it sounds to me a lot like prudence. Did I skip prudence? It's because she's such a good bookkeeper. Prudence is about being conservative. So you show something at a lower value than it really is. That's depreciation. It's bad debts. Ne? It's provision for bad debts. I rather write it off. My debtors control is 7,000, but I suspect 1,000 rand is not going to come in. So I make that my provision for bad debts. And in my books, I don't show debtors as 7, I show it as 6. That's prudence. Bank recon. Bank recon, my deposit, outstanding deposit is 27,000, and then in the note they say only 20,000 was deposited. Then that 7,000 I write off. That's prudence. Okay. So I'm not going to go through that any further. I think I'm happy with that one. We still got 2 left. Legislations. Legislations. So, you guys, what they do in paper 1 is the last question, question 4. They call it corporate governance and auditing, but they would ask things that is relevant to companies, but that I didn't give to you as theory somewhere. Okay? So it's always important to just be aware that it might ask you something business studies. The business studies kids can do it, or the economics kids can do that. You'll see that.
Then what happens to
The science kids are screwed. So let's go on. Let's go on. You guys, let me talk. You're on camera, ne? I got proof that you're disrespectful. Because you keep on talking. So here we go. So, directors need to have an evaluation of their performance. You, even if you're the promoter, the one starting the company, are not secure in your position as CEO. Because if you are not performing, you can be voted out of the board of directors, out of being a CEO, out of being the chair of the directors board. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Because you didn't give the money for the idea. It's other people's money. Okay. Remuneration. So remuneration, the word remuneration, please write it there. This is income. This is your salaries. This is what you pay people. So under this is the salary, wages, and the director's fees also fall under this. So any money that's paid to employees and directors. So you have a committee that needs to yes it. They need to authorize these things. Okay.
So the remuneration policies are like the authorization?
Yeah, so the remuneration means that a director can't get a director's fee if it hasn't been authorized by the remuneration committee. So if you look at your board of directors, there are committees on the board of directors. If you look at our school governing body, there's also committees. There's a committee for discipline, a committee for public relations, a committee. So if you go to a board of directors, there'll be 3 directors that specifically deals with how do we want marketing to go. and they give instructions to the person in charge of marketing. You get that? And obviously, the director for marketing would be on that committee. But maybe also the director of public relations would also be on that committee. Maybe one of the majority shareholders would also be on that committee. Now, one of the things they say is the directors can't get a director's fee if it's not authorized by that committee. You see? Can you see that's an internal control procedure? So, dispute resolution, that would be if there's any a dispute, any fight about anything. Okay? So there's laws about that. So there's laws about whistleblowers. Okay? People who report fraud. Last year's final exam, or was it prelim, in one of the papers was about whistleblowers. Okay? It's becoming quite a thing in our time, not just in South Africa. There's the guy that was the whistleblower on the CIA in America. That guy, Snowden. He was a whistleblower saying that the CIA is listening in on private conversations, hacking private Facebook pages, stuff like that. He was a whistleblower. He's not allowed in America anymore. He lives in Russia. You can go read up on whistleblowers. Get away from your influencers who are and start googling things like this.
So he was being, what he was saying is true.
Yeah, it was true. But remember this, they're not going to leave him there. Okay. Then also, if you look here, it will also be about people, directors who abuse their positions. There would be disputes about that. Now, remember what we said? He's got a fiduciary duty, meaning a director always needs to act in the best interest of the company. Okay? It also protects the right of minority shareholders. Because maybe you only own one share, and the guy who owns the rest is making decisions that makes you uncomfortable. Then you can declare a dispute. Yes. Let's go. Can you see if you like law and you go into corporate law? This is the stuff you will deal with. Okay.
But they are not bad.
Business rescue. You guys, business rescue. This was also one year in the project. So business rescue was a big topic a few years ago with the SAA, South African Air Force. So what is the steps that's followed when there is a business rescue, meaning that government steps in? And they would do that because too many people would lose their jobs. Okay? So you go look for that. A conflict of interest. So the moment a director has a conflict of interest, he has to come clean and say, you know what, I fell in love with this girl, we are going to get married, but she works for our direct competitor. You have to declare it. Okay? Can you see? And I think this is a very appropriate picture for how all of us are feeling right now.
We can close our books and go home.
No, I still need to do corporate governance. I'm so sorry I'm boring. I did say if you are bored you may leave. Okay, so I'm going to do this. So I'm going to say, so next one I want to do is the King Code. So, corporate governance, and you're going to do this in detail in business studies also. So let me quickly run through the story. When our country became the most democratic country in the world, they realized that there was a need for general guidelines how companies should be run. And this isn't just for companies, this is for any business. Any business needs to run according to, and this is a very golden word to remember, good corporate governance. Okay, good corporate governance. So, what they then did is they appointed a judge. And this judge, surname, funny enough, was King, is King. He's Judge King. And Judge King has a committee, and they sat together and came up with good corporate governance suggestions. Right? And that is called the King Code. So the King Code, the first one, can you see? The year of democracy, 1994. Sorry, you can't really see there, but it's okay, you'll live. The next one, so now they updated and they updated. We are already on King 4. And King 4 was updated 2017. You do not need to know this. This is for interest sakes, okay? So, what they did with the 2017 one, it is now becoming more applicable, obviously, on the use of technology. Okay. So, and it's got less principles. They took out a lot. I think, yeah, it's a way shorter code now. Okay. Now, the 7 things about this. I don't know if I wrote it here, but the 7 things, you can acronym it. STAR-DIF. STAR-DIF. Okay. So, let's go look at the 7 characteristics. And now what's going to happen in question 4 is they're going to tell you a thing like that, where the guy says you must write it up as marketing or whatever. Then you can say this goes against good corporate governance because he's not being transparent. So you know this is the 7 things you know. Okay? From all of the things, the theory, this you know. So, can you see? STAR-DIF is just the first letters. STAR-DIF. So, social issues. So, they talk about the triple bottom line, the triple bottom rule. Have you done it in business yet?
No.
You're going to do it in grade 12? I'll tell you now. So, social issues is about resources. You have to be responsible in how you use resources, because natural resources is scarce. We can't make new oil and new diamonds. It's nature that makes it. So you as a company need to be responsible. You can't dump toxic waste in a river that provides drinking water to a community. Social issues. Transparency. We have the right to information. If you change the way you want to do your books, you want to go from perpetual over to periodic, you have to be transparent about it. Okay. Responsible management. I mean, that one just tells you what you should do. Discipline. In other words, if directors does something that is illegal or that is irresponsible or unethical, there must be procedures to deal with him. Right? That is discipline. Independence. Right? So they say there, directors must make ethical decisions in the interest of the company and not be improperly influenced by others with hidden agendas. So in other words, what are they saying? When I know something inside, I'm not allowed to share it with my best friend so that he can go and buy or sell shares on inside information. Okay? This is stuff he can be fined guilty of if he does this. Okay? And go to jail. Fairness. The management must not favor any stakeholder above another. Okay? So you will see a lot of times they will give you situations like this. They will say, a shareholder died. His children want to sell the company to buy back the shares from the estate. Ne? Director A wants the company to buy it back below average and not make it public.
How will he benefit from that?
Hmm?
How would he benefit?
Can you see? That's not fair information, because what does it influence if we buy back shares? The amount of shares in issue. And remember, the amount of shares in issue has got influence on the NAV, the net asset value of the share. It's got influence on the amount of dividends you can earn, because there's now less shares, so you might get more dividends, or the company might retain more. It's your right to know this. Get something else. This director, someone comes to the director and he says, is it possible that I can that the company can buy back my shares from me? And he says, I will buy it back from you at average or whatever. Is that in the best interest of the company? No, because what's going to happen now? He buys back shares at a whatever, and maybe that makes him a majority shareholder. So that's fairness, because he's not fair. The information is not available to everybody who wants to buy shares. You guys get there? Yeah.
So let's say I tell Angel, like, the company's share that is going high, and then she buys shares.
Insider trading.
And then they find out, are they going to take back her shares?
No, they can't take it back, but you, my lady, will go to court. Okay. And she. Both of you will go to court. Okay, listen, I'm not done. You can go through these things. I just want you to highlight number 5. And you highlight that triple bottom rule. This thing here, super important. The King Code introduces the concept of triple bottom line. The guidelines are voluntary, okay, and focus on how you report and how you act in terms of economic, social, and environmental issues. The King Code report recommends that directors should report on social, transformational, ethical, safety, health, and environmental procedures, including HIV and AIDS. In other words, they must have policies about this. How are they going to deal with workers who've got AIDS? How are they going to do? You do know that companies who have a community around them, especially mining companies or factories, there is a compensation or a way that they get back from tax if they give back to the community. And a lot of them would do educational programs where they get educators from outside for weekend classes and stuff like that. That would be an environmental and a social issue and an economic issue, because they can't afford extra classes. So now, for their marketing, but also for their triple bottom line, they do that, because it's a good thing for their image. Okay, I see I have literally tapped your energy. I hope you have an awesome day.